slightly move to the. Okay, so yeah, so in this session we'll basically look at unique factorization in ZX. Okay, so first we'll prove one very interesting result in ZX or in fx in general. Okay, not in Z. This doesn't work in ZX. This works generally for fx. That is, if you have so we know one important property in fx regarding its ideals. What is it? Can anyone tell me? It followed as a corollary to the division algorithm. All ideals are, yeah? No. All ideals are principal ideals, right? So essentially, if you give me any ideal, I know that it is a multiple. It is basically the set of multiples of a single polynomial. That's what you mean by a principal ideal. Okay, so all ideals are principal ideals. That's what we had done. Okay, and the way in which we had done, just for you to recollect, is take the polynomial of the least degree and show that it generates this thing using the division algorithm. That's the basic concept. Okay, so this is in fact holds in more general case. It's not just in fx. This actually holds in a more general case, which we will look at in the next chapter. So if f is a field and p of x, if f is a field and p of x in fx is irreducible, okay, if p of x in f of x is irreducible, all ideals appear as principal ideals. This is what we know. Okay, so actually I think slight change. This actually is a equivalent statement. So let's do it that way. Okay, so let f be a field and p of x be. Then, okay, there's a nice equivalent statement, that is then p of x is an irreducible if and only if the ideal generated by p of x is maximal. Okay, this is something which we also have in what is it? Which other ring we know has this kind of a property? Z, right? Z also has the same property because what do you call that? What are all the ideals of Z? The principal ideals of a single point n, right? Nz, those are this thing. And which are the maximal ideals among them? The pz's, prime multiples of z. Those are the maximal ideals. That's exactly what we have seen in Z. Okay, so let's try to prove this. Very simple proof. Okay, assume that P is irreducible and show that this is a maximal ideal. How do you show that something is a maximal ideal? Suppose you have an ideal between it, either show that this is equal to P of x or it's equal to fx. So let P of x be irreducible and I be an ideal such that the ideal generated by P of x is contained in I, contained in fx. Okay, but I have a nice interesting property for fx, that is, I know that any ideal is a PID, right? So therefore this P of x is generated by some polynomial. Okay, since fx is a PID, principal ideal domain, there exists some Rx in fx such that I can be written as Rx. Okay, so now this is a simpler this thing to work with, right? We know exactly what are the elements of this. They are just multiples of R, right? Polynomial multiples, okay, not unit multiples, right? What do these look like? Sx times Rx. Now notice here that P of x will belong to I, right? So as P of x belongs to I, what should happen? P of x should be a multiple of Rx, right? There should be some Sx in Fx such that P of x can be written as R of x times S of x. But what do we know about P of x? It is irreducible. If it is irreducible, it means that one of these has to be a unit. Okay, since P of x is irreducible, either R of x or S of x is a unit. Now it's very easy to see. What happens if R of x is a unit? So ask yourself, yeah, what are units in Fx? If R of x is a unit, what are the units in Fx? Non-zero constant polynomials, right? In Fx, the units are essentially non-zero constant polynomials. What do those non-zero constant polynomials generate? Right, the entire ring. In fact, that's always true, that units always generate the entire ring. Okay, so this is a unit. Okay, so if Rx is a unit, what would happen is I would be the entire ring. I hope everyone can see that. That's very easy to see, because Rx is a unit means that Rx times R inverse of x is going to belong to I. What is Rx times R inverse? 1. Okay, but if 1 is there in an ideal, any 1 times any polynomial will be also in the ideal. So essentially everything is in the ideal, so I is equal to Fx. What happens if Sx is a unit? What happens if Sx is a unit? Can you see? If Sx is a unit, right, that means essentially Sx is going to be a non-zero constant polynomial, right? Sx will be a non-zero constant polynomial. So you can think of it as some u, right, non-zero constant polynomial. Now you can write P of x as u times Rx. So this is a unit, say S of x equals u, then you can write your P of x as some u times S of x. So now see, we know that P of x is contained here. Can I show that every element in this is an element in P of x? I know that P of x is contained here. Oh, thank you. R of x, not S of x. Okay, so take any element here. What do elements from here look like? Some f of x times R of x, right? Some f of x times R of x. Can I write that as something times, I want to show it here, right? Can I write that as something times P of x? What is it? See, you take any element, let g of x belong to I. This will mean that you can find some f of x in fx such that g of x can be written as f of x times R of x. Now I want to show that g of x is in this ideal. That means I need to write this as a multiple of P of x. How do I do that? How do I do that? What is this? A non-zero constant polynomial, right, or a unit. So I can just multiply by the inverse there, right, and that will give me f of x times u inverse times p of x. That's it. This is some polynomial times p of x, so this is going to be in px. So, a very simple proof. What you see is that if you have an irreducible, the ideal generated by it is going to be maximal. What about the other side? What about the other side? So, suppose P of x is maximal and see, I want to show that P of x is irreducible, right? That means I have to say that if I can break down P of x as some A of x times B of x, then either A of x is a unit or B of x is a unit. Okay. So, and there exist A of x and B of x in fx such that P of x can be written as A of x times B of x. Is that okay? Now, you see, this works in a very similar fashion to what happens in in Z. Okay, if D divides n, right, then the ideal, see, the multiples of D are going to be more than the multiples of n. Right? If D divides n, then the multiples of D are going to be more than the multiples of n. In other words, if D divides n, then nz is going to be contained in dz. Right? This is what you can see in the exact same thing follows here. That is, since A of x divides P of x, the ideal generated by A of x or the ideal generated by P of x is going to be contained in the ideal generated by A of x. Okay, very easy to prove. Let me write it out. So therefore, P of x will be contained in A of x, which is anyway contained in fx. Okay, how do I prove this? Take an element from here, prove that it's there. If you take an element from here, what does it look like? The f of x will look like some P of x times g of x. Put this substitution there. So what you will get? F of x is equal to A of x times B of x times the g of x. So that is A of x times B of x times g of x. Right? So it's a multiple of this thing. So it's going to be there. Take an element from here. What does it look like? P of x times g of x. Right? But P of x is A of x times B of x. I'm exactly copying what I'm doing in Z. Okay, so this will be some A of x times B of x times g of x. Okay, I could switch sides if you like. It doesn't matter. So this is A of x times some polynomial. So it's here. What do elements from here look like? A of x times some polynomial, right? No? I'm showing that this is contained in this. If you take an element from here, what does it look like? A polynomial multiple of P of x. Yeah, so if you have an element in P of x, the ideal generated by P of x, it is essentially a multiple of P of x, right? It's P of x times G of x. Now P of x can be written as A of x times B of x. That's what we have assumed. I mean, yeah, we want to show that this thing, right? That P of x is irreducible. So we want to show that either A of x or B of x is a unit. Okay, so this is what we have assumed. So therefore you can break this down, and therefore you write this as a multiple of A of x. Simple as that. Okay, so this is true. But what do we know? That P of x is a maximal ideal. So since P of x is a maximal ideal, right, what should happen? Either this should be equal to this, or this should be equal to the entire f of x. So therefore, either P of x would be equal to A of x, or A of x would be the entire ring. So suppose A of x is the entire ring, what can you say about A of x? It has to be a unit. It has to be a non-zero constant polynomial. If A of x is the entire ring, A of x has to be a non-zero constant polynomial. That's the only thing that generates the entire f of x. Okay? So if A of x is the entire ring, then A of x has to be a non-zero constant polynomial. So therefore A of x is a unit. Okay? What happens if P of x is equal to A of x? Okay, so this is where you use what we have proved when we proved that every ideal is a principal ideal, right? We showed essentially that the generators see the generator of a polynomial is going to be a polynomial of minimum degree. This is quite easy to the generator is going to be the polynomial of minimum degree. Non-zero, it's going to be the polynomial of minimum degree. Why? Because everything else that is there is a multiple of it, so it's going to be of higher degree. Okay, that's again, you can use the same idea to see that this has to be a constant polynomial. If this is not the constant polynomial, is not a non-zero constant polynomial, then there's no way you're going to get, if this is a polynomial of degree n, the only polynomials which are here are going to be of polynomials of degree greater than n and greater than n, and of course 0, nothing else. So this has to be non-zero constant polynomial. Okay. What about this? If P of x, if the ideal generated by P of x is the same as the ideal generated by A of x, then what happens? You can show that P and A are associates. Therefore, you can write P as unit times A of x. How do we show that? Because you can write P, okay, let's just do it and see. So, if A of x is the entire fx, actually it follows from the same argument here, but let us just see. So you want to, we can actually use division algorithm. This is generated by 1, right? Now you use division algorithm, what does it tell you? What does this tell you? 1 is in this. If you want to do it this way, that's fine. I think let's not waste time. Okay, so this is the entire thing. If you can see here, if this polynomial is of degree greater than or equal to n, the only polynomials which are here will be polynomials of degree greater than or equal to n. Hence, this has to be the constant polynomial. Has to be a constant, non-zero constant polynomial. Okay, so this means that A of x is a non-zero constant polynomial, and all non-zero constant polynomials are units, and therefore, what have I said? Yeah, so therefore that is, in other words, A of x is a unit. So I've shown here that I've assumed that P of x is A of x times B of x, and show that when this happens, A of x is a unit. Okay? What is another case? That is, if this happens, right? So the case 2 is P of x equals A of x. Now, if P of x is equal to A of x, it means that P of x is a multiple of A of x and A of x is a multiple of P of x, right? So this will mean that you can find some, let's go with, say, q1 of x, q2 of x in fx, such that P of x can be written as q1 of x times A of x, and A of x can also be written as q2 times P of x. Okay, but you put this together, you get P of x is q1 of x, q2 of x times P of x. Okay, and I know that P of x is not equal to 0. Why I know that P of x is not 0? Because this is a maximal ideal. So by definition it cannot be 0. Okay, so this cannot be 0. So since P of x, because the 0 will generate the 0 ideal. Okay, so since this is not 0, I can cancel out on both sides, giving me what? q1 of x, q2 of x is 1. What does this tell me? Yeah, that q2 of x is the inverse of q1 of x and vice versa, right? q2 of x is the inverse of this thing. In other words, q1, right, q1 is a unit. Okay, and if it's a unit, it has to be a non-zero constant polynomial. That's also not essential, but in any case. So this means that q1 of x is a unit, and hence a non-zero constant polynomial, say q1 of x is some u. So what does this tell me? Do I even need this? Yeah, okay, no problem. So what have I got? Here, this is u, right? So P of x is u times A of x, right? So P of x is some u times A of x, and also I know that P of x is A of x times B of x, right? But I am working in an integral domain. Fx is an integral domain. So u times A of x is A of x times B of x. What does that tell me about B? What does this tell me about B? It is nothing but u, right? So therefore, B of x is nothing but u. That's a unit. So what have I proved? Either A is a unit or B is a unit, right? When this happens, A is a unit. When this happens, B is a unit. So simple. I actually did not need this. I could have used here A of x times B of x, but that's fine. Okay, so we have characterized when these becomes a maximal ideal. Okay, so seems to hold similar properties like z, in fact, right? You can see that fx holds some similar properties like z. Okay, and of course as a corollary, it is easy to see that whenever p is irreducible, fx by px is going to be a what? Field, right? Because quotients of maximal ideals are fields. Okay, quotients of maximal ideals are fields, so it's going to be a field. Okay, now as we have discussed earlier, we need to do something like what we did in Z, right? For uniqueness, that is we use that at the start of the class, that if Pn, right, or if P divides A into B, then either P should divide A or P should divide B. We require that kind of a property. So let's try to prove that. Let's see whether our irreducibles can take the place of primes in Z. That's what. So we should attempt at proving the similar types of properties that we have in Z for fx. So as a corollary to this, if f is a field and p of x, a of x and b of x are in fx, or let us say it like this, that f b, if p of x is irreducible and p of x divides a of x times b of x, okay, then what do we want to show? Either p of x divides a of x or p of x divides b of x. Okay, a very simple proof we will give to this. Just using the theorems we know about ideals. Okay, so the proof is very simple. Notice here, p of x divides a of x times b of x means what? What does this mean? Yeah, you can write a of x times b of x as p of x times some polynomial, right? That's the definition. That's what you mean by divides. Or in other words, a of x times b of x is in the ideal generated by p of x, right? Because a of x times b of x can be written as some polynomials times p of x. Okay. Now I know that the ideal generated by p of x is a maximal ideal, right? But I also know that every maximal ideal is a prime ideal. Every maximal ideal is a prime ideal, right? In a commutative ring with unity, every maximal ideal is a prime ideal. Why? Because if M is a maximal ideal, then R by M is a field, but every field is an integral domain, and hence M is a prime ideal. So this will tell me that either A of x is in P of x or B of x is in P of x. That's the why, as this is a prime ideal. Why is it a prime ideal? Because it is a maximal ideal. Okay, so this means what? This means I can write a of x as some p of x times g of x, or I can write b of x as p of x times. In other words, either p of x divides a of x or p of x divides b of x. So simple argument to show that. Okay, so that property also holds for fx, and of course we can prove this in more general. That is, if I extend this to, instead of 2, if I use n, this will also hold. Can anyone tell me how? How would you prove it? Instead of having simply a of x times b of x, if I have a1 of x, a2 of x up to an of x, then I will still be able to prove that p of x divides one of them. Okay, so in other words, so stating it rigorously, so if I have some p of x, a1 of x up to an of x in fx, if P of x is an irreducible and P of x divides the product a1 of x up to an of x, then P of x should divide one of these. So in other words, there should be some I in 1, 2 up to n such that P of x divides ai of x. How do I prove this? Yeah? Induction. That's right. So we can prove it by induction on n. Okay. For n equals 1, there's nothing to prove. Okay. So you can assume it for n minus 1 and prove it for n. So to prove it for n, what would you do? Take a1 up to an minus 1 as b of x. Right? By this, we'll see that P of x divides b of x or an of x. If it divides an of x, nothing to prove. Right? If it divides b of x, that means P of x divides a1 up to an minus 1 of x. But by induction hypothesis, this will mean that it should divide one of those. That's the proof. Okay? So very simple argument. So this will tell you this happens. So this is, you all know all of this from Z. It's just copying the same ideas. Okay, you can do yet another property which you have in Z. Okay, that is, what if all these AIs were irreducibles? Then what would happen? Yeah? You would get equality. Are you sure you would get equality? What would happen if all these AIs, you would get associates, right? Not necessarily equality, you would get associates. In Z also you have associates. In Z also the same thing happens, right? I mean, you can see 2 divides minus 2 into minus 3, but it is not equal to minus 2 or minus 3, but it is an associate of minus 2. 2 is an associate of minus 2, right? In Z also we have the same problem. 2 divides minus 2 into minus 3, that is 6, right? But neither does 2 is not equal to minus 2 and not equal to minus 3, but it is an associate of minus 2. 2 is equal to minus 1 times minus 2, so it's an associate of minus 2. What's an associate? A unit multiple of the element. Anyway. So let's see that. That's another nice one to prove. So that's the only thing you need to be a little careful about here, is that you have extra units. Okay, you have extra. As I said, yeah, they have to be associates in fx, not plus or minus 1. They have to be associates, and that was in Z that you will have that. But let's see. So I think we can just do that as a corollary. If f is a field and p of x, p1 of x up to pn of x in fx are irreducibles, such that p of x divides the product p1 of x up to pn of x, then there exists some I such that p of x and pi of x are associates. In other words, what does this mean? What do you mean by saying associates? There exists a unit u such that, what is a unit in fx? Non-zero constant polynomials, okay, such that p of x can be written as u times pi of x. That's the meaning of saying that they are associates. Okay, the term I will rigorously define later. We will be doing this work in more general later. So just how do we prove this? We already know that there will be some I such that P of x divides Pi of x. Okay, so there exists by previous corollary, there exists I in 1, 2 up to n such that P of x divides Pi of x. But what does this mean? I can write Pi of x as P of x times some g of x, right? So this means that you will have some g of x in fx such that Pi of x is nothing but g of x times P of x. What does this mean? We know that Pi is an irreducible, right? Since Pi is an irreducible, what does it mean? Yeah? What does it mean by saying that Pi is an irreducible? Either G is a unit or P is a unit. Can P be a unit? No. P cannot be a unit. Why? Because P is an irreducible. Okay, irreducibles by definition are not units, non-unit, non-zero elements. Okay, irreducibles are never units. So since this is not a unit, surely g of x is a unit. Okay, so this will mean that either g of x is a unit or p of x is a unit. Okay, but this definitely means that g of x is a unit. Okay, as p of x is an irreducible and hence not a unit. Okay, but again the same question, what are units in fx? What are units in fx? Non-zero constant polynomials. Okay, so therefore this means that g of x is a non-zero constant polynomial. Say g of x is equal to some u, and therefore what we have is Pi of x is nothing but u times p of x. Okay, if you want to write it in this manner, what will you do? I have written Pi of x is u times p of x. What will you do if you want to write it in that manner? Inverse, right? Take the inverse. That's obvious. Okay, so that's the proof. Okay, so we are basically trying to show that you can do almost everything that you can do in Z also in fx. Whatever we can do in Z, we have shown many things that we can do in Z, we can do in fx. Okay, interesting. So let's get back to this is what we can prove in general. Let's get back to Q and Z. That's what we wanted to handle in this chapter. So let us just recollect a few things that we have in Zx. Okay, we have done these. Okay, so what are the irreducibles in Z? So irreducibles of degree 0. Okay, the irreducibles of degree 0 are of what type? What in Zx? What are the irreducibles of degree 0? When will the constant polynomials be irreducibles in Zx? Only when they are primes or minus p, right? Minus 1 times primes. That's the only irreducibles. We have done these exercises at the start. Okay. The next irreducible which you know is any polynomial of degree 1. Okay, any polynomial of degree 1 will be an irreducible in any polynomial of degree 1 with content 1. Okay, will be irreducible. Why is that? Yes, why is any polynomial of degree 1? I don't think I need this, but anyway, yeah. Why is any polynomial of degree 1 with content 1 irreducible? Say you have a of x plus b. Why is this irreducible in Zx? Yeah. The GCD is 1, okay? GCD of a and b is 1. Okay. So this we know, say suppose I can break this down in Zx as some f of x times g of x. By the Gauss theorem I know that the what is it? That the content of f and g or the content of f into the content of g is the content of this. Okay. So say the content of this is c and the content of this is d, then the content of this should be c into d, but the content of this is 1. So therefore cd is 1, which means that both c and d should be 1. In other words, the content of this and the content of this should also be 1. Okay. Now what else can I say? This is a polynomial of degree 1, which means that the degrees of both of these should be less than or equal to 1. And if the degree of this is 1, then the degree of that has to be 0. There is no other way, because the degree of both of them is 1, then the degree of the product will be 2. Right? So the degree of this is 1, then the degree of this should be 0. Or in other words, it should be a constant polynomial. So it should be a constant polynomial with content 1. When is that possible? Which constant polynomials have content 1? Which constant polynomials have content 1? Yeah? Only plus 1 and minus 1. Which constant polynomials? What is the content of the constant polynomial f of x equals c? Modulus of c. Right? The content of the polynomial f of x equals c. What is the content of a polynomial? The GCD of all the non-zero coefficients. Right? So what is the content of the polynomial f of x equals c? It will be mod of c. There is no other option. So for a polynomial to have content, for a constant polynomial to have content 1, it should either be plus or minus 1. So therefore, if this is of degree 1 and this is it, that means this will be plus or minus 1, or in other words a unit. So that tells us that plus and minus 1 are the only units. Right? So that tells us that any polynomial of degree 1 has to be polynomial of degree 1 with which is primitive. Okay, has to. Yeah. The next thing you can see is that any primitive, any irreducible polynomial in Zx should have content 1. Why is this true? This is not true in Q, but this is true in Z. Why is this true? Any irreducible polynomial in Z, okay, of positive degree should have content 1. Why? If not, you can just pull out its content, right? You can pull out its content and you'll have a polynomial of degree 0, which is non-unit, So C times, so if f of x has content greater than 1, say C, and you can pull out that C and write it as C times f tilde of x, okay, where this f tilde is going to be a polynomial of degree, a polynomial of content 1, and that's going to be, is that okay? So you can just pull that out and you get factorization which is not this thing. So all irreducibles in Zx have to have content 1, okay, so that's another one which we can see. What about this? Suppose I have primes in, suppose I have irreducibles in Zx, okay, if p of x up to p1 of x are irreducible. So these are irreducible in Zx, okay, such that p of x, because I will require this to prove uniqueness for the prime factorization later, then what can we say? What should we be able to say? Yeah? What we should be able to say here? Yeah. It should be plus or minus one of these. Okay? So then there should be some I in 1 to up to n such that p of x can be written as, p of x is plus or minus 1 times pi of x. Okay, so how do we prove this? Yeah. So the proof of this is so the proof of this is not very difficult. We can pull out the proof from Q. We know that this happens in, see, if this divides this in Z, it will also divide it in Q, right? Because every polynomial in Z is a polynomial in Q. I can write this as p of x times g of x, where g of x is a polynomial in Z. If g of x is a polynomial over Z, it's also a polynomial over Q, right? Every polynomial over Z is a polynomial in Q, over Q. So we can pull it out from there. So as p of x divides p1 of x up to pn of x in Zx, okay, as this divides this in Zx, what should happen? P of x will divide p1 of x up to pn of x in q of x, right? This divides this in Zx, it will also divide it in a bigger ring, q of x, okay. So, but what is q? A field, right? Since q is a field, we can use what we proved earlier. So since q is a field, there exists some unit in q, difference 0, such that p of x can be written as u times, or there exists I in 1, 2 in up to n, and a u in q difference 0, right, a unit, such that p of x can be written as u times pi of x. What is left to show? What are we left to show? Yeah, we have to show that u is either plus or minus 1. Okay. So how do I show that this u is plus or minus 1? I know that u is in q, so therefore so I can write this u as some a upon b, where a and b are in Z. Okay. So as u is in q, there exist A and B in Z, of course B non-zero, such that U is equal to A upon B. Or in other words, P of x is A upon B times Pi of x. Okay, which means I can write B times P of x equals A times Pi of x. Can anyone see the proof? To say that U is plus or minus 1, what do I need to say about A and B? I need to say that B is plus or minus A, right? If I say that B is plus or minus A, I have proved this. Can anyone see it? See why? What is the content of P of x? P of x is a irreducible in Zx. So the content of P of x has to be 1. What is the content of Pi of x? 1. Because Pi of x is an irreducible in Zx. So what is the content of the left hand side? Modulus of B, right? The content of the left hand side is modulus of B, right? We know from Gauss theorem in fact, but here it's quite easy to observe. Again, the content of this side will be modulus of A, but these two polynomials are the same, so they better have the same content, so therefore mod of A is equal to mod of B, or in other words B is plus or minus A, okay, which means that the content of B times P of x should be the same as the content. This is not a good way of writing, it's like a predefined function in Python, but it's okay. Okay, so the content, but what is the content of this side? It's mod of P, B, mod of A, or in other words plus or minus B, or B is plus or minus A, it really doesn't make a difference, and therefore U should be plus or minus 1, and if U is plus or minus 1, it means that P of x can be written as plus or minus Pi of x. So now finally, to prove the big result, okay, that's what we were looking to prove today, that is, given any polynomial in Z, we can uniquely factorize it as product of irreducibles in Zx. Okay, given any polynomial in Zx, we can uniquely factorize it as irreducible polynomials in Zx. This is the reason why, this is one of the reasons why irreducibles are so important for us. Okay, you see these irreducibles exactly copy the behavior of primes in Z. Okay, so if Z is nice and irreducibles and primes do something nice in Z, it's nice to copy them, get something that behaves exactly like those irreducibles in Fx. Okay. Anyway, of course Zx, anyway, so we will see this data a little later. So theorem is okay, so every polynomial, so there are things which I am going to state where I expect you to understand the meaning. Example, what do I mean by unique up to rearrangement is actually that there is a bijection from one side to the other, but it means that I can rearrange in such a manner to get equality. Okay, that's something which I would expect that you understand, so I will state it in that manner. Anyway, so every polynomial or every, non-zero, you can't break any integer as product of primes, right? You can't break down 0 as product of primes, and neither can you break plus and minus 1, right? So every non-zero non-unit polynomial. Okay, so every non-zero non-unit polynomial. What are the unit polynomials in Zx? I'm again asking you. Which are the unit polynomials in Zx? Plus and minus 1. That's it. Okay. So other than those three, you can break any of them. Every non-zero non-unit polynomial in Zx can be written as a product B1, B2 up to, let me write it like this, Bs into P1 of x, P2 of x up to Pn of x, just use the same m of x. Just a second. Okay, where okay, so that content I want to keep special. So where these are all polynomials of degree 0, okay, where Bi's are irreducible polynomials of degree 0, of and Pi's or Pj's, okay, are irreducible polynomials of degree greater than or equal to 1. Okay, so this is all greater than or equal to 1. Let's ask one simple question first. So this is the existence part. You also need to talk about the uniqueness, okay, because uniquely we can factorize. So what is the content of this polynomial? What is the content of this polynomial? No. Content of this polynomial. Important to observe. Yeah, it will be the modulus of B1, B2 up to Bs, right? Why? Because these are all irreducible polynomials of degree greater than or equal to 1, which means that they are all going to be primitive. And we have seen in Gauss theorem that product of primitive polynomials are primitive, which means that the product of all of this is going to have content 1, and therefore the content will come from here itself. So that is going to be mod of B1, B2 up to Bs. That's the content of this polynomial. Okay, so this should come from the content, and this should come, so we pull out the content. That should be simply the prime factorization in Z of the content. Simple as that. Okay, and this should come from this thing. So this is the existence part. Also, if so this is the uniqueness part, which says that if let me just state it, this thing also, the I think let me state it. So if B1 up to Bs and say use some other notations, C1, C2 up to Ct are polynomials of, or are irreducible polynomials of degree 0 in Zx, and P1 of x up to Pm of x, and of course Q1 of x up to Qn of x are irreducible polynomials in Zx of degree greater than or equal to 1 such that, okay, so this is how we state the uniqueness, such that B1 up to Bs times P1 up to Pm is equal to C1 up to Ct into Q1 up to Qn. Okay, then what should happen is, firstly, the primes that appear here should be same in number as the primes that appear here. Okay, these are irreducible polynomials in Zx. That means they are going to either be plus or minus p's. Okay, again these are irreducible, so they are going to be plus and minus p's. Okay, so firstly, S should be equal to T and M should be equal to N. Right? Then S should be equal to T and M should be equal to N. Okay, and now once this happens, I should be able to rearrange such that the corresponding ones are associates of each other. Okay, and by rearrangement, which essentially just means that I can find a bijection from B1 up to Bs to C1 up to Ct such that the image is a associate of the element. Anyway, let's not say that. Okay, by rearrangement, Bi is an associate, or I can say Bi is plus or minus Ci, and of course Pi or Pj is plus or minus Qj. These are the only associates, right? Even a polynomial, that's the only associates in Z. So how do we prove this? It's very simple. As I said, I am going to give you the basic idea of the proof by induction, and the rest of it is on your notes. So let's do that. So I find it easier to first prove this for primitive polynomials which have no content, which have content 1. Okay, so how do I prove this for polynomials of content 1? Once I have proved it for polynomials of content 1, the rest of it follows quite easily. Okay, so how do I prove it for polynomials of content 1? So to prove it for polynomials of content 1, we'll prove this only for polynomials of content 1. Now if you have polynomials of content 1, don't expect the Bi's to appear. They will not appear because that's going to give you content greater than 1. Okay. So how do I prove it for polynomials of content 1? Go by induction. Okay, we prove it by induction. So how do I prove it by induction? First start with the polynomial of degree 1. Okay, polynomial of degree 1, right, with content 1 is anyway a prime, is anyway an irreducible, right? So nothing to prove, at least in terms of existence, nothing to prove. Okay, what if I have two polynomials of degree 1? I want to prove uniqueness. Okay, see, if I can write a polynomial of degree 1 as some P1 of x up to Pm of x, and just where these are irreducibles, what can you say? If this is a polynomial of degree 1, which I can write this as product of this and product of this, what can you say? The degrees of all of these are greater than or equal to 1. What can you say? Yeah? What should M be? M has to be 1. No? Because these have degree greater than or equal to 1. Right? These have degree greater than or equal to 1, right? When you take product of polynomials, what happens to the degree? It adds up. So the degree on the left, right would be at least m. So therefore, m has to be 1. So you can do this. Similarly, you can do this. Okay. So q1 of x yeah, that has to be 1. So q1 of x has to be equal to p1 of x. There is a catch? No, that's it. There's no problem. So in this case, the uniqueness of the factorization is also satisfied. Okay. So this p1 of x in fact is just a of x plus b. That is the prime. Okay. And unique factorization is also going to work. So what happens? Yeah. So assume that the result is true for every polynomial of degree strictly less than n. That is, you are assuming one thing is any polynomial of degree strictly less than n can be written as product of irreducibles, and two, the way in which you write it as product of irreducibles is unique up to rearrangement and associates. Up to rearrangement and associates. Okay, so you will be able to rearrange, and equality will not always take place. It will be equality up to associates. That's what you have. Now you need to prove it for a polynomial of degree n. Okay. So start with the polynomial. Is that okay? Everyone has got the induction hypothesis. What is the induction hypothesis? We are assuming that any polynomial of degree less than n can be written as a product of irreducibles. Okay, can be written as product of irreducibles, and okay, we are only looking at primitive polynomials. Okay, so can be written as product of irreducibles, and this can be done uniquely. Okay, so suppose you have two different arrangements, then this thing will happen. Of course, no b's and c's in this case because we are working with primitive polynomials. Okay. Now I have to prove the final step of the induction, right? So start at the polynomial of degree n. So suppose f of x is a polynomial of degree n. So for the existence part, it is as simple as saying, is f of x irreducible? If f of x is irreducible, you've got your prime factorization. You've got your factorization, right? F of x itself. Take f of x to be p1 of x. If f of x is irreducible, you're done. So if f of x is not irreducible, what can we do? If f of x is not irreducible, that means f of x is going to be reducible, which means that I can write f of x as some a of x times b of x, right? Where both a of x and b of x are going to be of degree strictly less than the degree of p, or in other words, you can say that both of them have degree greater than or equal to 1. Okay? Now what happens? But their degrees are strictly less than n, the degree of f. Okay? Because it's reducible. That's the only way it can happen. Now what do? Use the induction hypothesis on a of x and b of x. You can write a of x as product of irreducibles, write b of x as product of irreducibles, put them together, you've got, right, you can write f as a product of irreducibles. Make sense? Okay. So I know I can write f as product of irreducibles. Say suppose those are, that is, p1 of x up to pn of x, m of x. Now I want to prove uniqueness, right? For f I want to prove uniqueness of the prime factorization. Okay. So how do I do that? Suppose there is another prime factorization, that is, say suppose I can write this also as q1 of x up to Qn of x. These are all in Zx. Then what do I do? Can anyone tell me? Exactly the same steps as we followed in Z. What do we do? These are all irreducibles. What can I do? Oh, yeah. Take Qn. Qn divides the left hand side. Hence it divides the right hand side. What does it mean by saying that Qn divides the right hand side? These are also all irreducibles. That means it should be equal to plus or minus one of these. Right? By rearranging, we can push that fellow right to the right hand side and make it Pm. So, by rearrangement, we can write Qn of x as some plus or minus Pm of x. Okay? If I can write Qn of x as plus or minus Pm of x, then I can cancel those out on both sides, right? Leaving the plus or minus 1, which doesn't matter. So therefore, what will I get is, I will get plus or minus, we don't know what it is, it's either plus or minus, let's call it u. Okay? Plus or minus 1, whatever this is, I'm going to call as u. Okay, right? U is either going to be plus or minus 1. So P1 of x up to Pm of x minus 1 of x. This will be Q1 of x up to Qn minus 1 of x. But now, what has happened? The degree has fallen, right? On both sides. The degree has fallen because I've divided by this. The degree has fallen by the degree of Qn of x or the degree of Pm of x, whatever you want to say. Okay, so once it has fallen by that, again use the induction hypothesis. Okay, what does the induction hypothesis tell us? That m minus 1 is equal to n minus 1, or in other words, m equals n, and by rearrangement, this happens. Done. Okay, this u doesn't really matter. You push the u for P1 and it works, because plus or minus any irreducible is a irreducible. So that proves the theorem for primitive polynomials. Okay. Now, how do I prove the theorem in general? What if the content is greater than 1? Then what do I do? Yeah. For the existence, it's quite simple, right? What do? You pull out that content, right? So say, suppose f of x has content c, then f of x by c will have content 1, right? So you can pull out that content. So c times f of x by c. Now use this previous part, write f of x by c as product of irreducibles, right? P1, P2 up to, and c, what can we do? Right? C is in Z, right? So I can write it as product of primes in Z, right? In Z we know prime factorization, right? So write C as product of primes. Is that okay? So this will give us existence of the statement. How do we prove uniqueness? Again, see that you can utilize ideally induction. Okay, so how do I prove it? I can simply write, suppose I can write b1 b2 up to bs, p1 of x up to pm of x. Suppose this is c1 up to ct into q1 up to qn of x. Okay, then what do we do? In fact, you don't need induction. It's even easier. What do we do is, look at the content over here. What is the content over here? b1, modulus of b1, b2 up to bs. And this will be mod of c1, c2 up to ct. Right? But these are all primes in z. Okay, so you have mod of b1 up to mod of bs is equal to mod of c1 up to mod of ct. But these are what? Primes in z, which means that moduluses of them are primes in n, right? So by the unique factorization in n, what will happen? We can factorize uniquely in n, right? So what will happen is s will be equal to t, and by some rearrangement we will have mod of bi is equal to mod of ci. Okay, so mod of bi would be equal to mod of ci by some rearrangement. Okay, you will be have to rearrange to do that, or in other words, bi is plus or minus ci. Okay, so this can be done. Mod of bi is, so if this can be done, you replace that here and cancel out. What will happen is you will get P1 up to Pm is plus or minus, because these bi is plus or minus ci, right? So you get plus or minus q1 up to qn, but that is just plus or minus, it's a unit, right? Push it for q1, push it into q1, hold it in q1. That's now irreducible polynomials which are primitive. So use the previous result, get uniqueness. Simple. Okay. So so I would challenge you all to go and write this out on your own by yourself. That's when you will be sure that you have understood the matter. Okay, so try to write it down on your own. No looking at the notes and all that. You can definitely try. Take the statement and try to get it on your own. You will have some difficulties possibly, but if you try, you should manage. Okay, so with this we complete this chapter. Let me switch off the recording.